48, he was doing the windrush. In fact, even before he went on the ship, his book, I hope that you guys can still buy his book, and his book will be in schools, is that even before he left Portland, he set on Kilbride, and he was going on this trip with his friends, I'm phrasing it, and like he's going on the second Mayflower. Now, many of you know about Mayflower, right? The ship that actually left this country in 1620. About 111 or so people, passengers who were going to America, but eventually they ended up in what we now know as Massachusetts. They were supposed to be going to Virginia, and somehow they didn't go to Virginia, but eventually they ended up in what they now call Plymouth. But that Bill was religious. That's the thing about it. That's why he held on to this thing called Mayflower. Because the Mayflower can't be compared with the England ship. They're different things altogether. With Mayflower, people were traveling, across the Atlantic, going to the west. In the case of Windrush, they were traveling from the Atlantic, going to the east, going to England. And Sam had this in mind, great throughout his life, not new. But I think this so-called Windrush scandal blew the whole thing in a different direction. And it also made people who weren't really Windrush become Windrush. I think if you hadn't come on the ship, really, the only symbolic Windrush, symbolic. That's all, symbolic. But if you were on the ship itself, that's actual. Like Sam King, who was on the ship. There are people that you might have known who passed away who were on the ship. They are directly generation. Right? So this whole thing about Windrush and the topic being the future is this. We should be calling a lot of things West Indian, or West Africa, or West Indies, than calling it Windrush. Okay, that's the thing. Windrush is only symbolic. And a lot of things people are calling Windrush is really Caribbean. Right? The Caribbean is not Windrush. Windrush is particular to the ship. The people who came on the ship were 1,027 plus people on the ship. We haven't even begun to research the lives of even a tenth of them. We are trying, a tenth. But some people have forgotten about the people who came on the ship, and they're focusing on people locally, whether they were Lamy, East Windrush, Federation. That's not the case. These guys were not from Windrush. They weren't. Right? So therefore, when we look to the future of Windrush, we need to focus on Windrush and the people who were there, and then focus on others in the community, whether they are from Antigua, different things. And in that sense, we get a broad picture than thinking about Windrush as everything. It's not. Right? I'm telling you that because I was involved with Sam King from the very beginning in 1995. And I know how we began the whole process. It was meant to interest children. It was about teaching children about their parents' journey, whether it is from Africa or from Liberia. It was a case of teaching young people about journey, right? And not about teaching about older people who are still around. Right? That was the idea. So that's my first snap.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. We're so knowledge of our subject, and we wouldn't have been able to even know what I'm talking about here. So thank you so much. I'm not going to Paul, who is Sandra Fukora, to give a more positive thought on this subject. Please.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So, coming from Nigeria in particular, there actual Windrush, i.e. the people on the boat, on the ship, sorry, and the people that came by other means. They were all coming for surviving a singular thing, a better future. Whether it was on the ship, whether it was through the plane, which happened to my generation, parents who came to England either to study or to work. They came because they were looking for a better future. However, the better future wasn't the reason why they came only. They came to get education and go back. Because in those days, Nigeria was so powerful, so rich, to the point where when they finished their education, they could go back home, and there were jobs waiting for them. They get picked up at the airport by the government, and they would give them loans, they would give properties and cars and work and everything. So it was a different story. In that, a lot of them stayed and had children and went into industry, went into build this nation for Great Britain or United Kingdom. It wasn't just Great Britain where they all stopped. Some went to Ireland, some went to Wales, some went to Scotland, even though it was just a minority of them that did at the time. So the story of Windrush, where they all kicked off, as in the actual people on that ship, when it broke, obviously it affected all of us, not just people on the actual ship, because for the government, they see us as one. Well, that's from that, that's from that. We're all the same. And I think, whilst we're trying to tell our stories, I think we should try and say it in a way that tells the story of the race and not just the label that we've been given. And the reason why I say that is, I think for too long we've been divided, as in like you're from Caribbean, I'm from Africa, so we're different. We are one race, and I think it's really important for us when we're talking about our stories to say it's similar, it's no different. We suffer the same racism, it's no different, wherever you're from. And we should celebrate each other's successes. And I'm glad that we have used that to remind all of us the pains that your generation went through and still going through, because obviously the children that came out are still suffering that today. And I could say that for Africans as well, we're all suffering. First of all, being invited to come and build this nation, and then we're told we should go back. Or when we came to study, with so much money into the economy of this country, we're told you're not good enough, you still need to go back because you don't fit. Now, I asked the question, my money did fit, and therefore I fit. My skills fit, and therefore I fit, and therefore I am going to stay until I decide otherwise. And that's what I want to share for now.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Sandra, for that opening. JB. Well, I think you might have the last event that it's not just, what's it called? It's not Jerusalem pilgrimage, it's just the pilgrimage. Yeah, that's right. Okay, let me then call one of the queens of Lula's Rock. I'll be reminded. You please share your views with us.
Sorry, I've got a little bit of sore throat, but I am very much the product of parents coming from Jamaica to settle in this country in the 50s actually. And it was quite common that one parent would come first, be there for, sometimes a year, a couple of years, sometimes separating the children. So I know that my older sister came with my mum, and I had another older sister that stayed with my exactly the work that I do now, that I've done for quite a while, working with families, working with children in social services. The trauma that can leave is quite devastating for young people. And actually, as we grew up, that was not really taken account of. And I remember as a child as well, you know, being in a school that was predominantly white children, and you know, the teacher saying to me, what do you want to do? And at the time I wanted to be a lawyer. And she said to me, you're working in a shop. And it just crushed me as a young person. That our aspirations are often just stunted with a single phrase that you hear at school or within your network where you're being educated, etc. I do agree with what you were saying about Windrush being bandied around, and I thank you for educating me around the real meaning of Windrush and what it was there to represent. Because it clearly has got lost in translation there, that it just covers everyone. And I think, you know, society is good at just clumping everyone together and not taking account of each of our needs, each of our journeys, which are similar but unique. I would say as someone that grew up, you know, in the 60s and in the 70s, what I saw our community doing was being very, very cohesive and collaborative. And what I mean by that is I remember my parents bought their first home, not by getting a deposit from, you know, a bank or a loan, because they weren't, you know, considered worthy to, you know, have bank accounts, so they would, you know, have an apartment. You know, that's how they got their deposit for their first house. And it was because people within our community, at the time that probably would have been predominantly Caribbean, but it would have been African as well, that would all come together and form these cooperatives. It was ingenious. It was ingenious because there was no other way that they could raise those sorts of monies. And it allowed them to get on the property market, it allowed them to, you know, elevate themselves in terms of where they were living, etc. And I would say that that's what's missing right now. I know maybe I'm jumping ahead, but we've lost some of that village mentality and that camaraderie and that cohesiveness. We had to really support each other, because actually if we didn't do it together, nobody else would do it. So that's what I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you so much. I mean, that's fantastic. You know, before I go things to maybe if you can talk briefly of this, partners, you raise money together. I believe it was common in African community as well. I believe there's something called Aro. Aro is a way you have a fund and you put a few people together and go and company. And then you can then go to the next one as well. It's a kind of cooperative. What's going on?
Well, I suppose a lot is going wrong, and we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about some of the things that was done properly and how we can make things better. But you call it a cooperative. But my father came from a village called Gallipoli on the East Coast, and around Guyana. You might have heard about Guyana. We currently 83,000 square miles, but Venezuela is trying to take 62,000 square miles of our country. At the moment, yes, equivalent. On the East Coast, where my father was in Gallipoli, it was a number of villages on the East Coast of Guyana that the ex-slaves pooled their resources in wheelbarrows and bought the villages on the east coast, Demerara, Guyana. So your cooperative actually started way back when the ex-slaves that fought Coffee and others came off the where my father was born and came from. I suppose when they came to England, I think they had the same attitude of working together and doing together. So my father didn't come in 1948. He was only born in 1942. So he came in 1960, and my mother came in 1961. Again, if you know anything about Guyana, my father, at the age of 19, Joe Abraham, was appointed General Secretary of the People's National Congress, Fox Burnham Party, when Fox Burnham split from Cherry Jack, those of you know anything about Guyana. Fox Burnham appointed my father as his first General Secretary. But then my father was sort of surrounded by Fox Burnham, Cherry Jackman, Sonny Bradford, all these really seriously educated people, and therefore he stood down from General Secretary of the People's National Congress to come to England to finish his education. And he came in 1960. My mom, at the age of 18, came in 1961. 18. So I always had to study that. Because, so when did my father met my mother? 17? I don't know. Anyway, she came at 18, and I was born the following year in Lewisham in 1962, where I joined them in a single room, because at the time, loads of them were living in one room. By the time I was born, I joined in that room, but it became so difficult. My mom took me back to Guyana, where I grew up in a wonderful place called KOIKIMEDIA, which is on the Berbice River, which is not far from the Essequibo River, which Venezuela is making claims to. And I came. So my father arrived at Victoria Station with £3 in his pocket. I always like to tell my children these stories. He arrived at Victoria with nowhere to live, didn't know where he was going to stay, with £3. And I suppose those who came off the boat in 1948 have the same kind of stories. But eventually he found somewhere to stay, and then obviously they started working and building their lives. But don't forget, they were all meant to go back the next week, or at least a few weeks. But they have children and grandchildren that's living in the United Kingdom. But we used it, Windrush, just finding something, to cover a whole number of years, 50, 60, 70, that. But as a politician, for me, the attacks on the Windrush generation happened on the our watch. It was under our watch that our generation and people who were Windrush generation were attacked with their jobs, they couldn't get their hair, they went back on holidays, they would come back, a number of them died. So it's a serious issue for me that this has happened, and we need to do something about it. And we still haven't talked about compensation scheme.
Thank you so much. When you talk about people coming and, I want to spend a year or two before I want to go back to me, I'm one of those. I remember when I came in the 80s, I said, I'm only going to stay about 3 years, maximum 5 years. 37 years, I still can't. What's going on? Why is present? We don't feel comfortable in the country we came to build. We were needed when the war destroyed most of Britain. All of a sudden, we no longer needed. What's going on? Is it our fault? Their fault or our collective effort?
And that's a serious question. Question that we ask ourselves every day, no doubt. Questions that our children ask us as well, no doubt, in terms of why. I think the reason there are various layers of reasons why I think, in my view, as a collective whole, not just them and us. Sometimes I think they then do it to us, and I'll explain that if I can. So we were called to help build, particularly the rigor of the actual and subsequently the others that came on board at the same time, to come and help build this nation when the war, Second World War, happened and finished. They saw something in us, that we had skills, we had tenacity, we had strength, we had zeal, we had all sorts of. If you're looking for people to work in the organization, you would pick the best. And we were the best, and we are still the best. And we did all of that. But I think when the resource kind of dried out, it was kind of like, okay, we need to look after our own first, because we haven't got enough to go around. Now, that's not my problem, that's what I always say. Because when the good was good, it was good for everybody. When it's tight, it should be tight for everybody. We should all join hands to get us out of whatever we are. So we became scapegoats of people that have invited us to come. And then that narrative was then passed on to their children. And children are born, even are going to hear about that. So that's on one hand, that resource became tighter because they spent all the money rebuilding and money was scarce. So therefore, they had to choose who to protect first. And also, I think it's partly our fault that we didn't build on the cooperative concept that we spoke about to form a union of black people where we fight for each other. So when things were being done to us, we didn't have the voices to help put our story out there. Because if you look at the British society, they're more about hearts and mind. They like to look at black African black people who are suffering and put their hands in their pocket to give them money so that they can feed and do whatever. They like to feel that they're saving us when they do that.
Do you believe so, Mr. Cole? You believe in our fault? They needed us. We were invited, we helped them. Others have been discarded. Is that our fault?
I think that, like anything, there are opportunities that perhaps were missed. And I think where you've had politics plays a part in this as well, hugely. And if your legislation is stacked against a particular race, and it's in very fine print, so you as law-abiding citizens never really get to understand it until you're on the other side and studying it to that level and understanding actually this is loaded against you, you never stood a chance. Until we have, breakdowns of those sorts of things to give us more of a level playing field, I'm being real, I don't think we'll ever have a level playing field, but there can be things that can be done to at least address some of it. Sometimes I think the frustration, the anger, and everything else that goes with it, with someone being unheard and invisible, can spill over into all sorts of behaviours that are what people would see as unacceptable or whatever. But actually, I do understand why some people may behave in a certain way, because they've just never felt seen, heard, or appreciated. That said, we do as a community also have to take responsibility for our communities and look at what we can do from the inside and work on it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Arthur. Yeah, you have one thing. Is it not strong, ask the question? No, that's fine. I think Nigerian. Yeah. Yes. No, let me quickly say this. I'm shy. Now, somebody said, for it's not my fault to be abused. It's my fault to be nice. It's my fault to be generous. Because I happen to leave thousands of miles away to come and help you. When I was sold that idea in my head, we are one. We are British. We're going to help build our country, Britain. Because that's what was sold. I remember in 1948, correct me if Nigeria is there, Nigeria lent money to Britain when Britain was broke. Yes, Nigeria lent money to Britain when Britain was broke after the war. Because we believe we are one. When I came to this country, I didn't need a visa because I was Commonwealth citizen. I didn't need a visa. I just came to live through them for how long I stay. I'm going to stay a week or two. 35 years, 37 years, I'm still here. Was that an excuse? So, please. Thank you.
Okay, now, in terms of the future, the very much future, I think it's important then to also reflect on the past. And the past will teach us that at the very beginning in 1948, we weren't invited. That's it. We weren't invited. And there were efforts to actually turn the ship away from coming into England. Right? We have that evidence. We have the evidence from records that they didn't really want us here after 1945. The people, the ex-servicemen and women in 1945, when the war finished, they wanted them to go back to their countries, to West Africa and other places. They didn't want to get. But the reason then for requesting our help is that people began to leave this country. Alright? In thousands, in hundreds of thousands. They didn't have people in 1950. And they began to ask for help. That is when they began to ask for help. See, although they didn't want us in the first place. So in that sense, you have nurses coming from the West Indies, from Africa, from India, and so on. And that is how it moved on and moved on. And I think our children need to know that whole history, not just part of it. Yes, we were invited, but that was not the original thing. In fact, in 1945, they were prepared and they did employ German prisoners of war. Do you imagine, friends? They employed prisoners of war, German. And Alan will not know you, Alan told us that he used to guard German soldiers. Right? And some of them were friendly, etc. And then when the war was finished, they were employed. The Germans were employed. Or they sent the people from Eastern Europe, Eastern Europe, you see. So there's a situation that has happened in the country with a lot of our people coming in now and realizing, oh yes, we were asked to come. Transport, the nurses, and other fields. But what hasn't happened is this, is that the early generation suffered the same thing that this when the Russian scandal happened. The early generation had the same thing. They had the same issue, and in fact that was worse, but they didn't have the law on their hand. They never had the race relations law. The generations today have a race relations law. In 1959, when Delta was killed, there was no law. So the president wanted to arrest everybody. In 1993, when Civil Lawrence got killed, you had a very stringent law. And she pressed it and pressed on. But those who came before, the great number of people who came before, had nothing of the kind. And many of them were deported. Nobody knows about them. So that is so we need to learn what was going on in the past and help our children to move on now with the knowledge of the past. So the scandal, yes, scandal was the fact, but I must say this from what I know of research. Those who came before had it worse, but they had no love there.
Thank you so much. I thought we were disappointed. So, where do we go from here? We talked about the past, we talked briefly about the present, and now we might have to everything of the moment. So, some of the challenges are going down, where the issue of research happened, and those few families actually lost their homes because they couldn't prove that we came there a long time ago, but it didn't bother to regularize their pay or anything. So, where do we go from here? What's the future? Sister Colette, have an answer?
Well, I don't know if I have the answer, but I do think that there were pockets of success that happened in our past that we perhaps need to learn from and use those things again. So you mentioned, I know that there was the bus boycott in Bristol, and this was around, black drivers not being accepted, etc., and it changed the law. It changed the law because they all got together, worked together, and they boycotted the whole transport system. So in numbers, when we come together for a common cause, you make a difference. So it's looking at what things can we do. We mentioned earlier that sort of cooperative mentality. America, you have the civil rights movement. They were powerful, so much so that the FBI and whoever tried to shut them down at every possible opportunity. So I think it is about us coming together to do things together and singing from the same hymn sheet, basically. We can only do that if we trust each other. I believe trust is one of the major issues in our communities that actually prevents us from working together. So I think if we can deal with those issues and actually come together and be consistent, so we don't just do it for one thing, it's about consistency and staying, the whole journey or whatever those issues are. So that's where I think we can make a start.
Thank you. Listen, briefly, and then we're going to ask if anybody has questions because we're going to make sure we land in the next 10 minutes.
Just briefly, I don't think we've done anything wrong. And I will never tell my children that we have done anything wrong. What's the constant has been a struggle against racism. So for my parents, there will be no dogs, no Irish, no blacks allowed. That sort of level of racism. For now, it's just a different form of racism. So it's about education. And our young boys and girls in our schools are still being excluded. Even now in places like South and Peck, young black boys are still being excluded. And now, young black boys are still being excluded from school. Our children are still struggling to find jobs due to racism. The health service and the racism that we face in health, and the racism that we face during COVID, when so many black bus drivers, etc., and black people died from COVID. We listened to the inquiry and asking Boris Johnson and others, well, what were you doing? Did you see that black people were disproportionately affected by COVID? And they did nothing about it. And then when we come into politics, There's still a struggle to get black councillors elected. There's still a struggle to get black leaders of councillors elected. There's still a struggle to get black men elected to Parliament. And I want to go back briefly to something about Parliament, because one of the things I did when I came back, my parents brought me back to the UK, is that I joined a group called Black Sections in the Labour Party. And when I joined in 1984 as their youth organizer, there were no black people in the British Parliament. And no one was doing anything about it. And that's what we need to look at. We decided that we had to get organized, and crucially, we got united. So when Hackney became vacant in Parliament, we didn't all scramble to become the parliamentary candidate for Hackney. We sat there and said, Diana is best place to win this one, so we get behind Diana. And I think that sort of unity of purpose is missing at the moment, and we still have to look at building a movement against the racism that we're still struggling against, that my parents struggled against in the 80s. In the 60s.
So, where do we go from here? We had, okay, earlier somebody said, I think it was yourself and Boyd that said that we should take part of the okay, maybe we should be more demanding, especially when we look at how the Ukrainians, today, everybody go home. Even those who have never contributed, but they were in need. They were in need. Now, but those who contributed, because this war worries me, those who contributed to this country, because for whatever reason, they failed to regularize their, immigration because of war, and they lost out. And know how many families have lost their jobs and lost their homes as a result. We hear from Kingsley, who are now in the activists for decades. We work together. What else should we be doing to let them listen to us and respect us as black people? Because I don't think we are.
That's a nice question. I don't know why I've got the answer of that. I think, if I could go back to what Kingsley said about, it's about racism, we all face it on a day-to-day basis. But there is one thing that always stuck out for me that we haven't done as a race in this country, and that is to be strategic. When you look at the Jews, the Muslims, they are very, very strategic in the way and manner in which they do things. They're very political. In the past, we have shied away from areas where we should be prominent, where something happens, we jump on it. We have let it slide, and we come about and say, well, maybe that's how it's going to be. We don't want to be called names or this, that, or the other. But actually, we need to speak up. We need advocacy, a very strong advocacy. We need to be, when things happen to black people, we need to be writing to ministers. We need to be letting them know it's not acceptable. If I tell you the amount of letters that we've got so far because of this Middle East thing going on in Parliament is unreal. From ordinary people, children. But when something happens to us, our race, we talk about it amongst ourselves, and that's it. We can't do nothing. We've got to talk to the people in power. So listen, we've got to come behind a body. And I like the fact that we're talking about something like a body where the body represents all of us. It's the voice of black people. All together, not, okay, Caribbean year, this year, that, we start cutting us up into bits. And then we start, it's divide and rule. It's divide and rule. What we need is strategy. An organization, a body that speaks for black people. think that's what it is, and everyone gets behind that.
Thank you.
Because we see it in other races.
Thank you. I think I'm going to be the person just after me to really to, about the past, the present, and the future. Just see something what you want us to take from here.
The important part for me is that
After me.
we also talk children about where we came from. Remember that person that the Queen's cousin asked that black woman one day? Where were you from? I'm from. No, where were you from? So the first thing we have to do is let our children know where we're from, so that they know their history and they're proud of that history. And therefore, as they continue to live in the UK, they will not find it as difficult as we found it through the years and the days, months, and years ago.
Thank you.
And my half a second or half a minute is that, just to add to that, when they know where they're from originally, stay number two, so they get familiar with their environment and the people and all of that. So you know that actually do exist beyond the four walls of Great Britain. Not only that, you tell them that they belong here. They belong here because once you start telling them there's something somewhere there that's your home, they lose sight of the fact of their entitlement here. They also have to dip into whatever is going on here, whatever goodies is being dished out here, they're entitled to those, and they need to stand and claim that.
Thank you. I think you can have both in your best of words. Yeah.
And I'll add to that in terms of the family. The family, in my opinion, has been eroded completely. When I grew up, there would be several generations of family members. And that village feel would just be your family, and that the wider community would be your family. Help to raise your children, help to keep them grounded, moral compass, the whole 9 yards. That needs to come back. We need to encourage it, and we need to start by healing the family from the inside. I do something called family group conferencing, and it's where you empower families to come up with their own solutions that affect a young person or child, or sometimes even adults. And it's about giving the power back to the family so that they can make their own decisions on how to deal with things and not being told by a state or whatever. So that's how I like us to move forward.
Thank you.
I'd like to say that for the future, there ought to be less brain rush. Although I'm involved in brain rush, it should be less brain rush and more focusing on what children should learn, especially the sciences. Now, when we look at the number of jobs and roles that people play in society, they're often white-collar jobs, right? They are not the hard engineering, mechanic, and that kind of work. And there's often kind of a colonial mentality where those who control society wear the white collar areas, right? But from what I can see, we ought to be young people, in the pharmacy. We ought to be helping them indeed throughout, right? As I mentioned, in the physics, in all kinds of things, apart from just becoming a lawyer. Lawyers are important, that's true. That is a fact. But that is how I see the future of young people. And our helping young people, whether it's Saturday school or Sunday school, we are helping them to move on personally. And if we can't do the math and the physics, biology and stuff, mechanical stuff, we got those who can do it. Right? For me, that is a big impact in our black community. Right? I said, I want to repeat, the mechanics, the engineering, that sort of thing is crucial. Otherwise, what we wouldn't be having what we call our legacy jobs. Because if a father becomes a top lawyer, he can't pass on that to his family, right? But if a chemist has a practice and teaches his son to follow him, his son has an automatic, what I call a legacy, to move along. We don't have how many? This year? All right.
We can blame everybody for the mountain that could not come. It's you who should know how to make an effort. People someone actually wants to help. They will think you are comfortable. And that is why we will keep on fighting. Keep on fighting. I'm not saying physical violence fight. 6 days of the question have to pay. As you know, the first black president in America has written that yes, we have a proud family in America, so not long ago. And it said, change requires more than righteous anger. It requires a program. And it requires organizing. I think that's probably most of the discussion we have. So we need to organize a plan of action. And perhaps we should put some time frames in it as well. Okay, one was a big thing, you're not able to achieve it overnight, but maybe put some plans in place, working together. Some of the barriers we want to do so that we can thrive and prosper our careers, so that the young people here can have a future. So, let's say the works together for many years, and this is for OBE, JP, because that is getting trouble. How many years ago? It's the Abrams, works together for years. So, and may I come to, I know I'm many of the snake out. May I talk to my old friend, we have another sister councillor here, Councillor Penny. Thank you for joining us. And we also have so many before that I start naming individual. Professor Ojogo came towards it, and I think I'm not going to see him at the back, So, yeah, for giving us their time. Some of them going to live in London. And of course, some come with their partner, very quietly, decide, which is behind. And of course, my other half also came as well, which is very appreciated. And so many people that came. Thank you so much. I think what I'm going to do, just to please give your hands. Because if you don't mind, since I call it before I say so if you give us a treat.
Oh,
I mean, because I thought, like I said, now, while I want us to present an award to a brother who's going to be in the lead, because we said was going to be about almost 30 weeks ago. I kept waiting. If you just put something on the background. So please put your hands together for our panelists. So,
And for me, it's really important for me, especially when I get awards from black organizations, because as has been said by the panel, often where we do good work and do hard work, almost as if it is our responsibility because of the amount of trauma and the amount of inequality that we have to come through. So often getting recognized by your own community is a lot more impactful than recognized by other communities who don't really understand the effort needed. And in particular, I wanted to say thank you to our brother KOIKIMEDIA back there, who was ever present in the process of us building our soup kitchen and getting us a good practice. He doesn't get a lot of recognition, we love recognition.
Congratulations. Thank you. So now we're going to have our sister, we're going to have Romy, my brother is very patient. I'm going to tell you a bit about his life in Toronto, because Tom started, you see this photo here, there are so many people who have contributed immensely to what GPI is today and what we do, including the politics. All of them migrated to the UK and so, one of the queens of Novel's Rock, especially those who are old enough to understand what Novel's Rock means. So please put your hands together for the
You guys know this song. It's a Motown song in Love's Rock fashion. Just need to turn up a bit, please. Each day through my window, I'm watching as it turns out to have a girl. And the chorus is, it was just my imagination. It was just my imagination once again. Running away with me, yeah. Running away with me. Two children made tree. I said I get out of the way. It seems it was just my imagination. Away with me.
And I remember needed a PA system, and I said, no, just Gary said, I think this whole thing to call them a message. I said, no, I'm going to find you somewhere. And where it goes, can you use this system? Can you?
So let me tell you about these two gentlemen, yeah? They're called the Sophisticated Gents. They have been playing music for over 40 years, 45 years. They support British acts like you would never believe. They play our music because remember, we are not getting played on terrestrial radios, we're not getting airplay on, television or on anything like that. So groups and sound systems like Sophisticated Gents are the backbone of our music industry because without them people don't hear our music. So please put your hands together for the Sophisticated Gents. That's Terry and Ian. Okay, so please set their business cards before you leave. Thank you.
Thank you. Class there for Colette Entry. Thank you so much, everyone. The best I'm going to call now to entertain us. I think the journey started, if not here, I think it's one of the places the journey started in terms of promoting African culture, arts, heritage, and so on. In fact, if you've been to our house before, you still know my wife so fell in love with some of those paintings. It's not just a drama, it's also a painter. I don't know why I didn't bring some of those stuff here to showcase. And he also organizes cultural dinner every year at the Hilton Croydon every year. I was there this year. I think I was there last year as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Anion. Because you like to use the branding. So, introduce yourself properly, please.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everybody. My name is Mario, the first Mr. I've taken it upon myself to promote our culture because the honor is on me to promote my heritage and then to showcase it as much as I can. I'm not one of the speakers, and my organ is very strict about time. So we need to be very brief and follow through. So I'm an entertainer, a joyful noisemaker that loves to promote community cohesion contribution through my music. On that note, we are all going to be together. So I'm going to challenge our wonderful auntie, Popola, in the part of North America. We are all going to do it together. Please, I perform, for so many class community. Recently, I was performing for one of our moms. She's from Caribbean, and she was 90, and we performed for her. So I performed for Caribbean, my Caribbean brothers and sisters, my Nigerian brothers and sisters, everybody. So we are going to be together. Right. Let's take it out. Can I invite you guys to come on stage as well? So before we give my sons a big hand. Yes. So these are the passed on for my great grandfather, to my grandfather, to my brother, and I'm trying to pass it on. Thank you. If you can understand what my drum is saying, these chords are not. Okay? Thank you so much. So, thank you. Just before we go, let me give you a very, very serious moment. In Africa, we do not have spectators, but we do have participants. So we've got two choices tonight. It's either you participate or you spring with thousands of pounds.
I haven't checked my logic today.
Okay, you better participate. Alright, 1, 2, 3, go. For my wonderful sons, because I respect our children, our youth, because they are our future. So anytime I go out there to perform and I see them, I always, respect them as well. So let's sing this song.
Volunteers.
Right. It's very easy for people to just take phone like this and perform it. It is not easy. So as we are performing, even if you are not on the stage, I just want you to enjoy our break. Otherwise, you are going to give us thousands of times. It's okay. Let's go, guys. Thank you so much. Yes. This is what we do. We promote community communion and inclusion. So it's not all about me. You know, play by drum. He doesn't like that. When my brother is on my move or anybody make this video, everybody is on the phone or talking.
I will tell you.
Exactly. I can't tell you what my brother. Okay, thank you so much. My name is Mr. Culture, and like I said to you, I'm a joint educator. I love culturality and to make communication and children. So, and X, who is it? He's one of my artists. I really share the give everybody okay, now, my program mentions something earlier that I have a cultural night. Thereby, we will together as a people, because we do not have. Sorry. Right. So the next one will be on the 4th of October, the first Friday of next year. October next year. We just delivered one on the 6th of October. My brother was one of my attendees who really gave me enormous support. Thank you so much. God bless you, sir. And the next one will be on the 4th of October next year. Please. I see all my brothers and sisters from Caribbean Island as my blood brothers and sisters. Yes. Anytime I'm doing my you didn't have one this year or you didn't have one next year. I always think we still have here. Yeah? Bring everything together and then put it together so that we can put it together. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you.
Because she told me, unfortunately, it was around and that's why she came in. And Peter, I'm not going to name every single person, otherwise, slapping on the one. We don't need to that. And I recognize my brother, Gary Edwards, who's the chair of my charity. I'm not pleased at because he, he's a brother, uncle from the church who say, I'm coming to help. And he's always supportive. You can see him. The social media, KOIKIMEDIA at the back, thank you so much, because at the last minute we needed, not even 24 hours, we're talking about 2 hours. And obviously there are a lot of people that are who are in favor, and she always calls us in them to give it. And we can do it. Thank you so much. Of course, this is as well. She was in the kitchen time. She was in the kitchen time to help all the sausage and things like that to make sure we have something to eat. So, madam, if you want to of course, I just want to say big thank you to everyone. I didn't mention please, my mouth just is suppressed, so I'm really sorry. Thank you so much for being here, and hopefully we see you at our future event. And this is going, part of it is going to be on social media. Isn't that true? Yes. So, like, we have BB initiative, yes. So, on social media, or you just connect with me at Saminame, you just connect with me. Then when you connect with me, I can share through our various networks. Once again, Mr. Kukola, Obi, JP, and most of you have put that. And your husband, thank you so much, because they don't live in London and they're here. And of course, Mr. Kukola, thank you so much, everybody. And our guests of the media. Thank you so much for joining us. And my sister again, I'm looking at the back. I know I'm not here anymore. Your older sister. Yes, come again. Not come again. Yes, come again. We the community because we all work for decades. So sometimes when you don't see people for a while, you recognize them, you are not. So you have to forgive. Thank you. Have a blessed day. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, everyone who's been watching the live transmission. KOIKIMEDIA, also Councillor Sonny Lambe. As we're going to be bringing the program to an end this evening, once again, this is a part of the community event that has been taking place in London. I would like to appreciate everyone that has joined us on this trip. Once again, a very good evening, and thanks for watching. Bye for now.